speaking of then, I guess, you know, your training and stuff like that then, and what you see now. You know, you get to watch a lot of women's fights through your job, obviously, and I know that you do have limited time, so you're only really mostly able to focus on Invicta, but what do you see as like the current meta slash level of WMMA now? Obviously, as compared to, you know, when you were actively competing, and in addition to what you have seen as improvements and levels and the meta and all of that, and you know, advancing, what are things that you think maybe have held it back, and things that you would like to see improve in
Well,
that respect?
I think it's night and day from where I was, because I look at myself now and I'm thinking, if I was actually one of the best in the world at that time, I mean, not the best in the world, like ranked in top 10 or top 15 or whatever in my weight class, you know, in the time that I was an active fighter, um, it's not that it was just the levels were just incredible. I mean, there were some fighters who just got to fight all the time and were so talented, had access to so many things. I had tons of access. I was pretty talented. I didn't get to fight all the time. I got to fight more than most, but I didn't get to fight all the time. So there was a lot of potential that I probably never achieved. But they're incredible now. I mean, every single female fighter right now in the big leagues, I think, would destroy me, like when I was at my peak. I don't say that to put myself down. I think I was good. I don't know that I was great, but I think I was good. And I think there's greatness now. We can see it. And it's this crazy thing where, like, the first couple of years out of it, I was like jealous, and then jonesing to come back, and then this and that, and then you're just watching, you're just like, damn, I said, how can you be jealous? Like, how can you not be excited and happy to see this, like, and happy to know that they're going to get more, even the ones who are not at the highest level of everything are going to find more opportunities to become great than I ever would have. And or maybe not me, but that's people in my generation never would have. There were fantastic fighters in my generation who just, I don't know, who they needed something could have happened that would have turned it around for them. And I think whatever that thing is, or whatever opportunities, there's more of those opportunities that can turn it around for people now. And that that's something I'm forever grateful for. But I say that also with an eye, there's way more work to be done, way
Mhm.
more work to be done. The UFC needs to have all of the female fight divisions, and they can do their little song and dance, but there's not enough women, and we can't sustain this. That's bullshit. You can build a division for anything. You can. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. You have the money, you have the prestige. You can do it, and they will show up and they will be there in that division. You just have to not treat them like, you know, like mice on a treadmill, one
Mhm.
after another, one after, get the next one and get the next one, and without actually letting them build, without giving them, the opportunity. Like, I disagree with a lot of the decisions they make, but I know what it's like to be a matchmaker. And in no way am I saying that's a hard job. Oh my God. And it is so hard to find all these replacements and to care about one thing or another, but to care about the big show at the same time. The show must go on at the same time. And people will give you crap. I mean, you get crap about decisions that you had to make, and people saying, "Oh, you're doing this because of this and this," and you're just like, you have no idea how many times I tried to do things exactly the way you laid it out, and it just couldn't happen, and I had to come up with what was there. So I do understand that about the matchmakers, but I don't think they handle the female divisions correctly.
Mhm.
I don't think they handle the male divisions correctly. I do think it's a little bit like a treadmill. And I say that I had a lot of love for Sean Shelby. I don't know why he hates me now, but I thought he was great. I had a lot of love for Joe Silva, and I know that'll get me shit on by the leftist MMA communities. I get that, but I knew them as human beings, not as matchmakers. Like, I knew them
Right.
as human beings before they were my matchmaker. And even as my matchmakers, I respected what they said. They were, working at it. But, what's going on now, I'm not privy to that information. So I get to sit back and armchair quarterback, just like, like armchair. Okay, two. I know you don't have to mute yourself. Don't worry. I can hear my own chewing louder than yours, so it's good.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump right into the next question, which is actually about something that I feel like is kind of overlooked in a lot of ways, and it's the dynamic and the differences in dynamics between weight classes. So flyweights and heavyweights don't generally move the same, just because one's bigger, one's small. So I wanted to know if you think that those dynamics play out also with women's divisions, because there isn't as wide of a gulf in the weight classes, but there is still a pretty wide gulf. You have women's featherweights and women's lightweights as well, and you have all the way down to atomweight. So it's a pretty substantial difference. Do you see those same dynamics play out in the different weight classes for women? And then if you want, you can compare it to men as well after the fact.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when we're talking about weight classes, we're talking about also a variety of body types, right? Like, I'm thinking about like somebody like Hope Chase, who we were having a discussion about her, like me and the crew on the way to the last Invicta, and we were just talking about like just how intense she is, and just backflips and then nunchucks and just like just all these things. And she's like, she moves like an atom weight in a lot of ways, but she's got so much power that builds her up. Or somebody like Cyborg, these are incredibly fast and lithe. Is it lithe or lithe? There's some words I see on the page.
I think
Lithe.
It's live.
This is the thing that actually fucked me up with Invicta too, because I used to say the word ebullient as ebullient, and it's so embarrassing but it's like there's some words that I read and I use when I'm writing, and I'm like, I've never heard that out loud. So okay, live. So people like that who are lithe and slick, and you're just like, wow, the power, but also just the movement behind that power is incredible. Then you watch the atom weights, and it's blurred like it's lightning. Right? It's just incredible to watch how fast they are and the adjustments they make. So yeah, I think definitely there's stylistic differences. I would say it might be more body type related than weight class related, but that's a dumb thing to say because weight classes and body types are so intimately defined, right? Like your muscle mass is going to put you in a certain weight class. I don't know. I know there's a misconception that atom weights don't knock each other out, and I think that's ridiculous. Just watch some of the old Japanese MMA fights like in the early 2000s, because oh my god, like, but again, it is something that people see.
That should just be a general rule. Go watch those fights.
Oh god, yeah. Oh my god, they're so inspiring. But also, or the like featherweights or lightweight female fighters like don't move well just because they have more power, and I don't think it's that. I think it's a composition of muscle and movement and training that'll get you where you are. And some people are just not fast, but they're fantastic. Like, I don't think anybody would really, people analyze it all the time, so I'm not going to phrase this right, but you watch the Diaz brothers box, you watch the way they move, and I don't think you could, it's just like their arms come out like these talons, like that are just creeping, or you know what I mean? Like body types and have so much to do with the way that you fight and the way that you train and that sort of thing. Yeah, I think that weight classes, you can see a huge diversity. If you were to take like one atom weight fight, one straw weight fight, all like one of each weight class, and you put them all against each other, yeah, you're probably going to see a pretty significant change between each one. But I don't think that is always the rule. I just think it's always going to be fighter dependent and fight dependent.
So I wanted to talk about your commentary to start with, because you've been doing it for a while. And I wanted to ask about your prep work and everything like that, but also just like from the start, how comfortable did you feel in the beginning, and how did you feel growing into it? And over time, where do you feel that you've made specific improvements, things that you maybe feel you can improve on? And let's just start with that, because then I would ask you to kind of like critique commentary as a whole in MMA and give
All
your
right, great.
thoughts on
You're
that.
gonna have me talk shit about Anik, aren't you?
No. That's the one guy I will not talk shit about.
That's good. I've got beef jerky between my teeth, by the way. So this is like the really disgusting moment you're catching me at.
If this is the show to have it on.
Yeah, right. The honey hickory is really good.
Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, so when I first started, never done it before in my life. I had some public speaking experience, and I think Shannon saw that, like, I was able to communicate somewhat well. And I started with Mauro Ranallo and Mo Lawal, and it was super fun, like, but also just totally daunting. But it was funny because once the fights started, you just watch it and you just feel kind of alive. I always feel like I come alive when it happens. And here's the thing about prep work. I work my ass off before these shows, but there was time periods like when I was coming to an Invicta, I was in grad school, so I was teaching classes, coming over from Iowa, like I had 6 hours in the car to get over there, like, and I would be listening to TJ DeSantis, like his radio, like he was so kind. He would always record the things for me. TJ DeSantis is one of the best people in all of MMA. He is one of the best human beings in all of MMA. He's one of the hardest working, best commentators. He never gets enough credit for his work. And I just want to say that on the record. If there's anybody who has made me better throughout my career, it's him. And I think we had a real rapport. I know that people kind of hate my style or they hate what I do. I've heard, oh, well, you're rough around the edges, you're this and you're that. And it's like, yeah, but I think also I've never tried to be anything but myself when I'm doing it. I don't want to make it about myself. And I know there are times when, especially early on, it was too distracting or I was too like over the top, but we all learn with what we do. And the truth is, now that I'm watching, it's like, I don't want to, I'll mention things about fighting. If I'm asked an opinion, oh, Julie, what would you do here? Or what happens here? I'll talk about what's going on, but I have to say my favorite thing in a fight is when the fighters prove me completely wrong and they like dislocate their heads and fly over somebody and do a heel hook or whatever it is. And you're like, oh, she had, I think she's a really tough fighter, but I don't know that she has that much ground skill. And then she just like does cat. Oh my God. She's like tearing through his back. Geez, you're going to probably be the death of something years old. So, but while I started my commentary, so I think my commentary career has been the various ways that I've gone through therapy and medications, trying to get a handle on my ADHD. But I don't know. I do still, I will never, I hope I never lose that tingle when you're just watching them and they actually start fighting and just everything in the world goes black except those two fighters in there. And I just want people to see how hard they're working and how good they are, even if they suck. And I don't think any of our fighters suck, but every fighter has a sucky performance every now and then. And we've seen them in Invicta. And it's like, even the best. Like you just have an off night.
The Rose Carla fight was, I don't think anybody would pretend that was a good fight.
I blacked that one out. No, you're talking, and both of them are extraordinary women in their own way. Both of them have made me want to tear my ears out listening to some of the things they've said. It's the one time when they're fighting each other and they're fighting each other in front of me and they're doing that art in front of me and I don't want to say that politics doesn't matter, everything matters, but it's the one time where that, for me, I just don't feel any connection to anything but what's going on in the cage. And it sounds like I'm talking about religion, and maybe it is some kind of like,
we're kind of in a cult if we think about it.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like, and I think fighters, celebrities, everybody needs to be held accountable for being really fucking stupid sometimes, including me. And I want to be held accountable for being stupid, but I don't think we need to shame people for it. Okay, some people, but not fighters. Like I do feel protective, especially Invicta fighters. I feel protective of them and their growth as human beings. But I also don't care about that when they're in the cage. I don't care about anything except the way they're fighting. I love it. It makes me so happy. And I've gotten some critique. I know Megan and I were talking about it. She's just like, you're always just so nice. You need to be meaner. I was like, yeah, actually, I love Megan, but I don't think she maybe knows me the way other people know me. Yeah, we've known each other for years, but I don't think she actually knows I am a cruel, mean ass bitch when I want to be, like when I let go. But when people are fighting, I don't want to be negative about it. I don't want to be overly positive, and that's something I should work on. But I want people to see what they're doing and what they're trying to do, and why maybe even when they're clinched up against the cage and everybody on Reddit says this is boring as shit, what they're doing is actually incredible. A flare of the wrist or a regrip or just a shift of the hip. I go into passive voice when I get excited, I think. But like they just these things can be what makes a fight completely change. And that is like, that's passion to me. That's like, I don't know, that's like there's something in that. That is the art that we don't always get to see. That's, when the people are back in the day painting on cave walls trying to communicate, and it's the one person who's just like, oh yeah, maybe I should make a curve here on the horse's ass. Okay, that was a bad example because now I'm not trying to compare cage fighting to horses, but I'm just like, when you make a curve and all of a sudden the art, or you add a shadow, all of a sudden it is in 3 dimensions, right? There are things you can do, and all of a sudden it changes your entire perspective. And I guess the thing that has made me the most passionate about this is if I can let anybody, just one person, see how incredible that can be. Like how when you post and then throw an elbow, how you can generate so much power from just one little motion, and how that can change an entire fight. That's cool, man. We're watching growth, and we're watching progress, and we're watching just, I don't know, little miracles in front of us there. Maybe not miracles. They're well-trained athletes who are trained, hopefully doing this, but it's still, to me, it is kind of miraculous to see moments that can change everything. And it's always available in fights. And that just is what keeps me going. And that's what makes me always excited to do commentary. So in a lot of ways, I do a lot of prep work. And there were times when I couldn't do as much prep work, but I really do. I do as much as my schedule permits. But I also I love watching fights. I love watching our fighters. And I love just kind of learning about them. But I almost can't remember their names. Like, I remember how they move, if that makes any sense. Like, I think seriously, Invicta is, I don't want to say it's my zenith as a human being, but it is exactly where I want to be. Exactly where I want to be. Like, I don't know. I want to see that part where they're champions with us, or they become superstars with us, or they become noticed with us, and maybe they go to the UFC and then the whole world gets to see them. Like Emily Ducote and her fight against Penne. It's like, oh, I'd seen that Ducote before. And I was like, I know she'd fought in Bellator and all these other things before. I was just like, you guys have no idea. You have no idea what this woman is capable of, or maybe you haven't seen it yet. And there's just like, and it's like Penne, one of our champions. Like, of course, her career has been stellar too, but it was just like watching Ducote just like come in there, and it's just like, yeah, like seeing somebody have that moment, that's worth all of it, man. It really is. It is worth all of it. And also when they lose, it's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
And you just want to, at this last show, the 2 girls from The Ultimate Fighter, and I feel terrible. I shouldn't say girls, the 2 fighters from The Ultimate Fighter who fought each other. She lost, and it was a pretty big ass whooping, but her ability to take like a body shot one way through and just make a decision. There is something in that moment. I'm watching them. It's just like, this is something you need for your whole life, and you're doing it. I don't want people to be hurt. I don't want them to get cussed. I don't want I don't want any of that. But watching somebody resurrect themselves or emerge from something that they could definitely choose to stop at, but they just get back up. We've undergone so many changes and we've evolved so much, but so has female MMA. And it's a treat to be there for it, I sound like a cheerleader, but yeah, that's me.
Well, I'm actually going to go directly into the next question then, because I think that a lot of what you said, but well, it kind of plays into what I would want to ask, is because matchmaking, right? When you were doing it, your methodology and kind of the thought process behind when you were making matchups, and because I could see that you really clearly care about the sport, the people in it, particularly the women in it. Were you able to kind of pull that, like, put aside your fandom in some capacity to like make sure that, okay, I'm matching up fighters, who deserves what, like a sport? Or was it kind of hard to separate that, or were you able to separate it at all from the fact that, oh shit, I want to smash these two fighters together and just see what happens, because that's going to be crazy.
No, I mean, first of all, Shannon like was always kind of the ultimate say in so many things. Like, it's just like, and I think that she's an incredibly kind person. She wants women to succeed. And she was really trying to help me out after my retirement, right? And my career and give me a place. The matchmaking, like, I think that's like one of my downfalls, caring too much. I did want to make beautiful fights. In some ways, I had no idea what I was doing. I would say that like a lot of the times my instincts were correct, but my worldliness and my ability to like, I didn't know how to use an Excel document. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, there are a lot of things that I had to like pick up on the fly. And I had just come out of the bubble of being a fighter. And if you've ever been in that bubble, you don't have to necessarily interact. Some people do, some fighters do, but I didn't have to interact with anything outside of the gym to an extent that it would change me or make me grow, And so it was just like, that was just like culture shock. I really did try to make good fights. I remember when I was living in Albuquerque at first and I got the job, I had dry erase boards all over my living room with every weight class and all these brackets. And then my significant other at the time came in and was making fun of me saying, oh, you look like the dude from A Beautiful Mind. Like, what's going on with you? Why don't you just get, like, which is kind of like, that was kind of the undercutting sort of shit that would always go on when I had any kind of independence, but let's move on from that. Like that, there is like stuff where it's just like, that instinct was actually correct to have your files so you can see them, because that's how I operate. That's how I was in art. Like when I was in drawing, I had to draw big. I have to see visually everything. I have to see the whole chessboard because I'm not a chess player. So I have to know all the things that are going to happen. Or they have to be readily available for me. But a lot of things I failed at when it was matchmaking. I failed a lot. I didn't quite understand anything, but I think there were some good things that happened during my tenure as a matchmaker. And I think that I can't claim credit for all of it. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't just me. Shannon heavily involved, other people. You know what I mean? Like it's and so there's no way I can claim credit for any of that. But I mean, when I came into it, the entire strawweight division had been taken by the UFC, right? Like the bantamweights were just being picked off. So it's like so many things had to be rebuilt. And I mean, it's like I got the opportunity, to be a part of like Irina Aldana and Alexa Grasso getting their American debuts. Like, the things like that. Like there were some stars that I really got to experience their
start.
Yeah, their start. I mean, not their start maybe in MMA, but their start in a more global theme. And I still get to see all that. I'm not responsible for the contracts. Like I love scouting fighters. I still do that. I still go through Tapology and all this stuff and look who fought who. And this, when I have time, I love doing that. I love watching the fights on YouTube that lead to another fight, But I don't have to deal with the financial part of that, or the like people using you to get a visa and then go to a different organization, which I was really naive about that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not accusing any fighter of that. I'm just saying managers are scum at times. And actually, you think about it, it's just like, well, actually they're doing that to benefit their fighter. So are they scum? I mean, really, if you look at it from the whole picture, like when you're a fighter, you're trying to game the matchmaker. So yeah, it's like, that's the thing is you get a big global perspective and you're like, man, every fighter has to be in it for themselves. And if you got a manager who's pro fighter more than pro organization, not looking at, yes, I am looking at you. You know who you are. Actually, I can list about 4 managers right now who do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it's more than one, although we got the one.
Yeah, make those backdoor deals so you can have your drinking buddies in the UFC. All right, and think you're somebody important. But regardless.
All right. So before we go, first of all, thank you again. But before we go, I do have one more question. It's about a story that you have probably told, I don't know how many times, but it's the Putin poop story. I don't know if you ever get tired of telling it. If you do, we can skip that. But if you don't, please.
I don't get tired of telling it. I will say, you get different perspectives of it now. Like, I remember when Putin, started invading Ukraine. and I have a lot of opinions about every single one. Like I know there's a lot going on in geopolitics, and that Ukraine also, like, it is important to recognize they do have a fascist faction in their, like, pretty, that the Republicans love to bring up when they want to defend their money in Russia. Putin is a monster and a fucking terrible human being. And I have a picture of me going with them side by side, like, hey, buddy. I have one with Berlusconi too, side by side. Hey, buddy.
The
and
Putin apologist, Julie Kedzie.
Yeah, right. Putin apologist. Yeah, right. No, I left my shit in his house, so that's how I feel about him. No, I fought in Russia, and I fought against Yulia Berzakovich, who I actually thought was a very charming, very kind person. And I know later on she ended up, I think I saw her in some very troubling political ads for Red Devil team or whatever. And I don't know. It's another thing, is like, you can't really apologize on behalf of people in your sport that you cared about, who end up being maybe closely pretty closely tied to authoritarian regimes and defending them and all this other stuff. And nationalism is bad, guys. It's bad. Okay, it's just bad wherever it is. We live in a big world with a lot of ideas. That's just to put that on there. Anyway, yeah, I was in Russia, and I fought her, and I'm pretty sure I was brought in to lose to her because I was on a pretty good losing skid. And I shit my pants in between the first and second round. Didn't know that I shit my pants. I thought it was a shart. And this actually speaks to, when we're talking about earlier in the interview, the professionalism that I actually did encounter with Jacksons and stuff like that, like having cold water in the back of your neck. I mean, it's not that my early coaches, and I know they probably are shitting on me forever, saying, oh no, Julie, didn't, whatever, she only thought she was good then, and she thought we sucked. No, I didn't think they sucked. I think there's a level, you learn about professionalism, you learn as you go.
There's just,
and they probably learned a lot of lessons. There is levels to this shit. And yeah, and I found shit in my levels, like in this shit levels. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point, but yeah, so in between rounds, cold water in the back, or cold ice, level up shit. That's what this is, level up shit. Yeah, and I sharded, and I didn't know that I had done that at the time, and I won the fight, and I won it by a mounted triangle. So that shit was right in her face. So that is a blow. I don't want to say it's a blow for democracy. I just want to say it's a blow for anti-authoritarian or whatever, anti-Putinism. But honestly, she was really sweet. I didn't necessarily she actually broke my nose. I mean, she's a tough fighter. She was in the wrong weight class. That's for sure. But also, I was kind of seen by a lot of people as an easy fight, like in a lot of my early career. Somebody who is going to make you look good while you beat them. And actually, that actually is my entire career, except for, like, I think I made people look less good when they beat me in my later career. And that's not me that's not false modesty. I don't care, guys. Like, you get to decide your own narrative after a certain point. I'm out of the game. So yeah, I decide how my career was, not you. But yeah, shit myself. Did not get a chance to change because we were a swing bout. So we were after the Fedor fight. Fedor Matt Lindland, which was pretty funny, like, fight, because Fedor blatantly cheated during that fight. But I was a Fedor fanatic. I loved him.
Everyone
I thought he was amazing. Oh my God. I mean, yeah, it's hard not to adore him. You just look at him, he's just like peace and serenity and destruction, like, all in once. Yeah. And so they carted me off, me and Amanda Buckner, who had actually beat me earlier that year, but who I really liked. And they carted us off on a bus. And it was like everybody else had got a chance to change. I was still in my fight clothes. I'm pulling off my gloves, pushing them in the compartment in front of me. And again, Yulia had broken my nose. And so there's blood coming out. It was all crusty. I couldn't really smell. But once I kind of wiped things up and tried to, like, not look like I was in fight clothes, which is impossible, I smelled something, and I thought it was vomit. It just smelled vile. So I'm sitting on this bus, and I remember Calvin Ayers, like, me asking him if he had any cologne or something, and him thinking, like, who the fuck is this chick? Like, who I signed? Isn't he like like prime minister of some like Antigua or something. Doesn't he have some like really high level political career now? Got kicked out of the country or wasn't
Canadian
allowed back.
entrepreneur.
Yeah, billionaire with online betting, but then got kicked out for not doing taxes or something. But then he
Special economic envoy to the government of Antigua.
Yeah, I knew there was something that, because in my thesis I did a lot of research, but that again was like 3-4 years ago. So like I've forgotten everything from then too.
Very long portion of his Wikipedia page is with criminal charges.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's MMA right there. That's
Yep.
MMA. Yeah, it's pretty hard to disassociate anyone's career from, criminal charges.
Oh, for sure.
From that time period. And probably still today, but sorry.
No problem.
So yeah, on the bus, we get off the bus. I mean, we have armed escorts, they have machine guns and stuff. It was kind of frightening, but also pretty exciting. Like I wasn't scared because I'd won a fight, and winning a fight was all I cared about, right? And I'd won a fight with my new team and my new coach, and I was so excited to impress him, and all of these things, had happened. It was like when you win a fight, honestly, the day after you win or lose a fight, it still sucks. And maybe other people have a different experience of that. The winning, you still feel better, but you still like, it's like, okay, what next? But not in a good way. What next? It's more like, oh shit, like I just spent so much dedicated for this particular moment, and that moment's over. Oh, must be actually like running for office. But push that aside. In the palace, run into not Vladimir Putin yet. We run into Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's with this extremely beautiful woman. And I'm thinking she's a hooker or something, because there were Russian hookers everywhere, especially the first trip. I mean, it was like, there were so many. The first time I was this was the second time I was there for Bodog. It was just like, and I don't mean to dismiss sex workers, but you're kind of like, you see a celebrity with somebody absolutely gorgeous. It's like, okay, it turned out it was like his 13-year-old daughter. So that shows what a scumbag I actually am. Like, and I was like, hey, you have any perfume? Like, she's like, who the fuck is this girl? Like, she was way more sophisticated than me, which shows you my whole life that, I win this like high level fight, and a 13-year-old still makes me feel like I am a rube. But I mean, that's Julie Kedzie-ism. Anyway, yeah, she doesn't have any perfume. He's like very kind to us, moves away. And I'm thinking, I must have stepped in puke. I don't know what it is, but something is disgusting right now. We go and we sit down at this long table we're ushered into. It is beautiful, gorgeous, like kind of thing with a row of cameras, like in front of you, like a firing squad or something. And this table, and people are milling about. And I sit down with Amanda, and I've gotten hit pretty hard in the face. And I'm a little bit just kind of fuzzy. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain that post-fight, whatever that is, you feel really, really good, but you're also starting to feel everything that hurts, and very uncomfortable if you're sitting in your shorts and you don't get to get out of them. And it's been like a couple hours. And then like this guy comes up and he starts talking to us, and I have no idea who he is. This is like big, burly, red-faced guy. And then he gets a translator. The translator says, he wants to know, he thinks you're very beautiful. Do you have a boyfriend? And I mean, it's like, I have a husband, and he's like looking at me, and I'm like, no. He's like, oh, you want to be his girlfriend for tonight? And I was like, no, I'm good. Thank you. Turns out that is Silvio Berlusconi. And the thing is, like, I reek. I don't even realize at this point that I'm caked with shit. Like I have shit in my pants. I reek. And he's just like hitting on me. Dirty motherfucker. And so Amanda's like trying to get me out of that situation. And she's just like, you want to go to the bathroom? And I was like, yeah, let's go to the bathroom. So she takes me, we go into the bathroom. We have to have the armed guard escort us, one of them, because I don't know, we're going to like steal secrets. I don't know what we would do in there. Like at this time I hadn't had eye surgery or anything yet. So I could barely see. Like, I think I had one contact left in too. Like, that's another part of the whole thing that like, I don't remember. I think I kept my contacts in. I'm not sure, but like I fought, like I very, very poor vision in a lot of my fights. And we go to the bathroom.
I have to interrupt only because she's crying now. I don't know.
Oh,
why.
no. Oh, the poor thing. Yeah, no.
Give me 2 seconds. Continue. Sorry.
It's all good. We get to the bathroom with our armed escort, and then I look in there and I realize I had shit myself, and I knew exactly when it was, when the cold water was on my neck, and I thought I'd farted and it was shit. And I had to clean myself up. And Amanda was pretty funny. She was just like, we had to make this more memorable. It was just like, I shit myself, I shit my pants. Oh my God. I'm like cleaning it up. And as best as I can, there's no trash cans. There's no anything. It's a very fancy bathroom. And apparently nobody in that bathroom ever got periods. So they don't need trash cans. So like, I like, take my underwear off and it's like, I don't, roll it up and I shove it in some towels behind the toilet. And then I just kind of wrap my switch it around my waist, go back out there, take pictures. And it's just like one of those things where it's just like, this is so surreal. This is so insane. But it felt very me, if that makes any sense. Like, I mean, it's hard to explain this, but it's like, you can't, what is that? So it's a terrible quote to use for this because it has absolutely nothing to do with this. From the Dulce et Decorum Est poem from World War I, right? And that it's an ecstasy of fumbling. And I understand that that's a terrible, terrible quote because that is actually about people putting on gas masks when they're being gassed in the trenches and dying. But the idea of an ecstasy of fumbling, like I do think that's actually my brand, where it's just like just head first into just bumbling and fumbling, but still like it's just such a great ride. And I've had very, very low points and very angry points and very flawed points where people can just rip me to shreds. And I've earned that and I've earned my accolades. But I do think that my life has been like an ecstasy of fumbling in a lot of ways. Like it's a good life, like, or it's a memorable life. Yeah. So that's what that entire experience, when I think about it, I'm just like, yeah, that's kind of what it was. Like, yeah.
I feel like if you tried
it was
pitching
on
that,
brand.
I feel like if you tried pitching that to Larry David for Curb Your Enthusiasm, he'd go like, nobody would believe this. Nobody would believe this. This isn't believable.
I pitched it to This American Life, but I was bad at pitching, so I never made it. Like I used to do radio essay. I love radio essay, and I was like, I could make this something for Ira. I really could, but never got it. So just has to be my own stardom.
Well, Julie, thank you so much for joining me. It actually has been a pleasure to have you on. This has been one of my favorite interviews by far.
Oh.
So before we go, I don't know if you want to, but you can. If you wanted to shout out your social media accounts, if you want people to follow you, send you support, or anything you want to shout out, please.
I'm going to shout out Invicta FC. Watch us on Access TV. Watch us on our YouTube channel, November 16th. That's what I'd love to shout out. My I locked my Twitter account when I was trying to get a job, and then I enjoyed it so much I really haven't unlocked it because I just got to talk with the people I wanted to talk with instead of I love to pick fights, and I don't need to pick fights. Like it's actually great to concentrate on other things. And my Instagram, I don't know, I should work on getting verified or doing something with that, but I really haven't. But yeah, let me plug Invicta, and let me just plug the women in MMA. The fighters, yes, fighters are my heart and they're my soul and they're my dream to go forward. The women in media in this sport, regardless of the organization and regardless of all the shit people are going to talk where they're going to pit you against this person, they're going to say you didn't earn what you got. You're there and you make the most of it because you are good. You wouldn't get that. Even the worst of women in MMA media, I think, have something incredible to offer. And I don't think there's a lot of worst out there. I think, yeah. So put a goddamn woman on the UFC commentary table. It's like ridiculous that they haven't done that. That's my pitch. Yeah, that's
Laura
my pitch.
Sanko.
Put Laura
in the
Sanko
booth,
there. Yeah.
Pay-per-view. There's no reason why she shouldn't be there for this card because we do have a women's title fight. So
yeah, you know what? I think they haven't done it because they know she's better than all of them. That's what I think. And man, I've had plenty of fights with the UFC commentators. Let me tell you, their little Bisbing armies coming at me, like all this other shit. But it's like, that's fine. I don't care. Like, just put her on there, even if she's gonna talk shit about me. She won't, because Laura. I love Laura and I respect her, and I think she respects me too. And I don't know, she's been good to me, and I like her a lot. But regardless, if you spend the whole time shitting on me, that's fine. Just put the goddamn female voice on there. It's time. So,
well,
Yeah.
with that, obviously, thank you everyone for listening. Please make sure that you go and watch Invicta, go support Invicta, go support the the women in fighting, in the actual sport itself, as well as the women commentating and interviewing and who are involved in the media. Like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Support Julie however you can as well. And I think we could say that this beef has been settled.
Yeah. Yeah.